way, so
Okay,
like you
perfect.
can whatever makes the most sense to you.
Neat.
But yeah,
Cool,
if there's
hit the
anything.
button.
All right.
Awesome. Hello, Hacksters! What's up? It is Tuesday, therefore it's Hackster Cafe, and I have, actually, no, I'm in the office of Critical, producers of the Snickerdoodle, with Ryan Cousins, the CEO. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Oh, pretty boss. So what exactly is the Snickerdoodle?
Sure, yeah. So it's a little business card sized computer with an ARM processor and FPGA on board.
Can I go grab one?
Sure, yeah.
Cool. Feel free to keep going.
Yeah, so it's kind of intended to be I guess you'd call it like a prototype to production kind of platform for kind of cutting edge Internet of Things type products. So
Whoa.
robotics, computer vision, video processing, networking, all sorts of different things. But yeah, this is kind of the two main versions of the thing here. Kind of see.
And it's FPGA based. This is the Xilinx Zinc. What is it?
Yeah, so there's two different Zinc parts that we use,
Oh.
but yeah, so basically it's an ARM FPGA SoC. One is a what they call a 7010, and then there's a higher end version which is 7020 that goes on the Snickerdoodle Black,
Sweet.
kind of the higher end.
Aren't they all
version of the
black?
product. They are, but so that sounds classy or something.
Oh yeah, neat. I mean, I love this matte black design. I always talk about how it's like the little black dress of electronics, I think.
Yeah. Matte Black's a nightmare to get to actually do right, but
Oh, I imagine.
we got it down.
So you've got some sweet crowdfunding tips. One interesting thing I noticed about this is that you have a couple of different ways the headers are mounted, and you also had a bunch of expansion boards and different things that you were offering as options with the crowdfunding campaign. What was it like, sort of balancing demand for all those things?
Yeah, not easy, and that's one of the kind of mistakes or lesson learned or whatever you want to call it that we made along the way, which was originally our idea or what we started our crowdfunding campaign with. It was sort of like so we use crowd supply, and one of the I guess the nice things about the platform is very flexible. Because, we work with them really closely to kind of launch the whole campaign and everything.
Cool.
Which, because we had so many options available to us, we decided to take advantage of all of them, for better or for worse. So one of the...
Seems like a great idea.
Yeah.
You plan on doing more stuff in the future.
Yeah. So it all worked out all right in the end. One of the things that we definitely did wrong, so to speak, was having we wouldn't go as far as to call it infinite, but having way too many SKUs.
Yeah.
So we had... Basically, we designed the board in a way that these components could be easily swapped or interchanged and loaded, not loaded, depending on what you needed to do.
Right.
So
this one kind of sits on top of other boards.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the connector configuration being one, the Zinc type, the Zinc being another, the radio being an option, the memory being an upgrade. So we basically had this SKU table of like 16 different SKUs for basically one product.
Oh yeah, which is awesome if you're a backer, because then you can choose, sort of optimize cost and like what you get for it. But yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of have now drilled that down to like 2 to 4 different SKUs. So it's kind of much more because we kind of just saw initially what people were generally selecting. Some people were always upgrading certain things and not others, and we said, all right, this is getting just overly complicated and hard to manage. So we said, here are your options, and it seemed to work out pretty well in terms of what people are looking for.
You've mentioned that there's some balancing that you kind of need to do with pricing, like with being promotional and attractive versus sort of realistic. And how did that go?
Yeah, so there's a number of different elements to that, and product pricing, especially for this kind of product, not only because of the nature of the product, but also the nature of like the kind of the market or industry. Very competitive, like the whole like single board computer or whatever you want to call that space. And like the golden standard, of course, now is a Raspberry Pi. So everything, no matter what you do, is always going to be compared to the Raspberry Pi. So what we were setting out to do was to be able to provide this kind of like a higher like kind of echelon of technology at the same
About
like
a billion like GPIO.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so because once you kind of get into the glorious world of programmable logic, like everything, like completely changed. Like it changed everything you thought you knew about, working with this type of hardware. So we want to be able to provide that at the most affordable price possible. And some of the through a combination of incorrect assumptions or maybe overly optimistic assumptions, and miscalculation on some of what certain elements of maybe the assembly or the circuit board or whatever it is would cost us in the long run, based on the volumes that we ended up getting. We weren't able to, unfortunately, sustain the price that we launched with. So there's this kind of, like you're saying before, this kind of dance that you do between what we could realistically make this for right now versus what we could make it for later, and how does that play into the promotional side of things when you're trying to get as many eyeballs in your campaign as possible, get as many orders so you can ramp up to the volume that you need. So
so what's the price point on like the regular one right now, that sort of lower tier?
Yeah, so the lower tier is at $95.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so got Wi-Fi on there. Obviously the Zinc is cool. Memory and little SD card.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could do that, but
could do that.
Well,
I'm not gonna do it right now.
Well, yeah, it won't break anything. Yeah, as long as it's not plugged in, it won't do anything bad. Cool. But yeah, so the lower end or the entry level product's $95, and then the Snickerdoodle Black is $195.
And like the issue is that people are comparing this to like Raspberry Pi, which is a much like lower sort of standard of speed, of GPIOs, of like other, like not having the FPGA compatibility built in. So if people are sort of comparing the two, then it becomes kind of this problem of like, it's not $35.
Yeah.
That's the new standard. What do we do?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is the Raspberry Pi offers you like a very compelling. It's really good at what it's designed for, which is basically just being like for a $35 computer, it's a pretty high performance like computer, like it's just a kind of a general purpose.
Designed for education.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas there's certain limitations. We would use that for very few projects that we typically work on, because. Whether that's because of power constraints, a lot of times I/O is a huge issue, which, like you mentioned, so there's like 180 reconfigurable I/O plus 60 something grounds or whatever
That's
it is.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so
60 grounds.
Yeah, so it's like 2-to-1 basically, I/O to ground on there. So yeah, it's used. I mean, the applications are just completely different. So. The whole idea of having like a affordable applications processor is cool for Raspberry Pi, got a little GPU on there.
Yeah. We're
focused more on kind of this kind of high performance, like deeply embedded kind of stuff. So or if you're doing mechatronics, some sort of computer vision stuff, like AI and a lot of kind of fun stuff.
All that stuff that FPGA is good at. Processing, like converting signals and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what kind of applications do you envision for the Snickerdoodle? You talked about like the importance of having demos and sort of use cases for people to.
Yeah. That was definitely one thing we've struggled with from like a resource standpoint, as far as just being able to churn out enough use cases and examples for people to build off of.
Because we can't all spend our time just like messing around.
Yeah, I mean that'd be cool, but like
nice.
we had to make the thing work, So which so much support or so much effort's gone into the support and documentation and troubleshooting and all that kind of stuff.
People don't think about that. They think about the engineering part, but not like how hectic the campaign is going to be.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that whole side of things as well, and the manufacturing and all the rest of it. So. I think from our standpoint, the applications kind of fall into two general categories. One is this kind of like mechatronic space, so like automation, robotics, industrial kind of stuff. And then the other side is more of this sort of like high bandwidth, like low latency kind of things, like computer vision, video processing. So people are doing some things like far field audio and like Alexa and that type stuff. So you get a really broad range of applications. Like we've done stuff from broadcast video to like pinball machines. So it's kind of like all over the map.
Yeah. Speaking of Alexa type stuff, you have this this breakout board or baseboard for it called Pie Smasher.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to a second ago. And does this have any wireless networking built in? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah. So the core Snickerdoodle itself has the Snickerdoodle Black has dual band Wi-Fi, so 2.4 and 5 gigahertz,
Nice.
And Bluetooth and BLE.
Cool.
So it's kind of got
Got
everything
all
you
the
want for these
antennas and
types of
stuff on
applications.
here.
Yeah, exactly. And a couple. So it's got a chip antenna on board and a couple external UFL or hookups for external antennas. And then the Snickerdoodle One, the kind of entry level, it says Wi-Fi. So
Oh.
a little bit more.
Pretty
basic.
nice.
So.
Yeah. So once you've made your designs and your also like you designed your campaign, you've got to do a video and stuff. How do you optimize your crowdfunding video?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. If you watch our video, it's kind of a little bit more. I would call it abstract, I suppose you'd say. So it's kind of like a inspirational or whatever, which is obviously kind of the feel we were going for. That was sort of part of the idea. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, ultimately, what we're trying to do is empower people to create cool stuff.
Yeah.
The thing, some feedback that we got was, well, where are the, it sort of goes back to the whole use case thing. It's like, show me what I can do with this. So, because sometimes, just saying, well, you can do different stuff with this from.
Get so paralyzed.
Yeah, it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, could I do just anything with it? So the answer is yes and no. And the fact is, there's certain things that this is going to be good at, and there's certain things like a Raspberry Pi will be good at, and like the application overlap isn't huge, but it's it just depends on what you're ultimately trying to do. So we conveyed a little bit of that in the video, saying you could use it for doing like drones, which is one use case, a kind of like mechatronic example.
It's pretty like.
Yeah, so lightweight. Yeah, exactly. And power efficiency is a big thing. When we got some mobile platform, obviously you want to be able to last long in battery life.
Right,
with the video stuff, it was kind of this. We worked with a pretty good at the time local videographer. Who came by and really like kind of I think finding someone who's like compatible with your kind of style is because we were just had really no idea what we were doing. So.
You gotta find a ukulele player. You gotta find a piano
exactly.
Player, someone to cut their hands.
That's right. Yeah. People have all sorts of different approaches, and some obviously a lot of crowdfunding videos go viral just on their own. So like a Dollar Shave Club kind of thing or something like that. But I mean, we were pleased with the way it turned out. There's always going to be things you can do better. You probably don't need to spend $10,000 or $20,000 on a video. But you're also probably going to want to spend more than like a few $100 on a video. Something, I think ours ended up being about, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 or something like that. So it's like it's an investment you have to make. But and you could do all of this yourself. But when you have 500 other things you need to do for the campaign, you kind of want to leave the hours on the cutting room floor or whatever to somebody else, like a professional is kind of.
Yeah. So have you ever done a more sort of traditional like big company product launch?
Yeah. So the three founders, so the other two guys and myself, we used to work at a small medical device company.
Oh, cool.
So we were working on, there weren't kind of like massive public launches per se, because it was like sort of like a niche kind of product segment, more of like the component level, similar in a funny way to what we're doing here. But there were the full rollout was you have much more. You kind of don't appreciate how much those like additional resources help when you just have all these different people you can assign to do this and that, and you're doing procurement, you're doing supply chain, you're doing the pricing, the marketing's over here, engineering's on the when there's like 2 or 3 people doing the job of like a team of 30, it's like a little bit more overwhelming.
Especially because you mentioned sort of the upsides and downsides of doing crowdfunding, and so having this sort of basis of comparison, like what would you say are the because having to do a video that's like really really nice and like kind of grabs people's attention and stuff, and like having to pay attention to the campaign and constantly do all that yourselves, like I don't know, what do you think the trade-offs are?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I know I kind of personally underappreciated how much we're gonna have to do while the campaign was going. You kind of more think of it as like you get to the launch day and like all the hard work's
Let's
behind you, and
go!
then you just wait
Hey!
for the money to roll in.
Yeah.
But that's definitely not how it works.
Oh boy.
So because you kind of come close to your goal or whatever. Maybe you have a stretch goal or whatever the case is. Maybe you're not getting any traction at all.
Mm.
So now you have to make this mad scramble to get more PR and coverage, and so
Mm.
you're constantly doing all these different things. You're responding to backer requests, and it's just this constant
Three
stream of
computers at
communication.
once,
And
just
yeah,
like.
basically, plus you got like all the technical side of things going on at the same time. So it's a very like public thing, obviously, because like once you go crowdfunding, there's like no turning back.
Yeah, and if
Like
people
you're
like get like turned bad on you, then
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh no, everything's ruined forever.
Yeah, and like you'll definitely have that. I mean, it's the internet, and like you're not really dealing with people.
Face to
Yeah,
face.
exactly, like directly, like
Yeah.
personally. So there's not so much of an appreciation, and not that we expect everyone to go easy on us, but it's there's not really an appreciation of how much work you're putting into it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
more just like you kind of like in a black, like I mean, you got to be as transparent as possible, but you don't see obviously the day to day. So it's that part's like really challenging, both I mean physically or whatever you want to call it, but also kind of emotionally, saying like
yeah.
we're doing all this stuff trying to get people the product that we've created, and hopefully they'll appreciate it. But then you kind of get the flip side of that where you just kind of really like think of it from their perspective, like how I'm sure there's been more than there's obviously been more than one just crowdfunding scams out there
Yeah,
where
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
these
yeah.
people have been left with the short end of the stick and just out their money. So there's obviously people have their own reasons for because of hesitation and
Yeah.
skepticism and all that.
And you
But
can kind of combated that by having some mock-ups and some sort of pre-built things that were maybe not like all the way to production level because you had to balance your efforts,
mhm.
but you also had like actual things to show, which was
Yeah,
good.
yeah. It's good. And that's always another fine line too. It's like how close do you need to be? How close does your prototype need to be to the
Mm.
end product for you to say yes, we know we can do this. For us, the knowing we could do it part wasn't necessarily an issue, but of
Mm.
course, like probably most R&D projects, you underestimate the time and amount of money it's going to take to actually get it across the finish line. So
Yeah, and of course, some companies now just use crowdfunding as basically marketing.
yeah,
Just
oh
like
yeah,
write off that whole
yeah,
thing. So
yeah,
they
yeah,
set like
yeah.
a little tiny goal, and then they can overshoot it by like 1,500%. And
For
then
sure.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
how do you choose your goal
Yeah, the goal is a really tough one.
if you're actually using it for funding? I'm sure it's
Yeah,
different.
and that was another issue because if you're not like whatever some big company just using it as sort of like I want to call it a PR stunt, but like
Yeah,
as
yeah,
a
yeah.
tool to
The
launch your product.
springboard.
Yeah, if you're a smaller company, there's this kind of mental back and forth that you do figuring out, well, okay, how much do we need, how high does our goal need to be to actually deliver the product,
Mm.
but at the same time, how low does our goal need to be in order for us to like be pretty confident we can hit it and that
Yeah.
we can get that cash like
Yeah.
now because we're a young starving company.
Yeah.
So I would say, just generally speaking, always make your goal higher. If we had made our goal high enough, maybe we wouldn't have reached it, but we could have, at some level, we would have been able to deliver all the products at the price point that
Mm.
we get, and which of course requires the volume that correlates to the goal that you've set. So, it's like this multi-variable kind of equation you're doing with between like your cost of goods, obviously your development costs, your actual production costs, all the things that lead up to that, NREs, and then you got like packaging and insurance and shipping and all these
Oh
different
boy.
things that it's just there's a mountain of stuff under just the core product that
It's
you
like
don't
an
really think
iceberg.
about. Yeah,
Oh
basically.
man. Yeah, I have a random question. How do you choose between like Kickstarter and Indiegogo or whatever? Did you basically go with that because that's what Crowd Supply is kind of used to, or?
So yeah, we had kind of a funny path to that. So we when we first came up with the idea of doing crowdfunding, we just said we'll use Kickstarter because it's like Kickstarter, crowdfunding
really
is synonymous, you know.
And then when you do your electric skateboard or backpack.
Well, exactly, yeah. So yeah, and then we kind of like look a little bit deeper. We're kind of figuring out where does our product fit in their like broader, you know, like ecosystem or whatever you want to call it, like offering. The Indiegogo people were like have an office in San Francisco, so we were working with you know, some of the people there directly, which made us kind of shift over to Indiegogo because we had. It's kind of nice to have the additional like kind of hands-on help and, you know, get kind of some pointers and stuff like that.
And they know that you're right down the street just in case anything goes wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Those support tickets in.
Yeah. So we got part of the way through that, and then we'd heard of Crowdfunding before, and we kind of talked to him like really early on in the process of trying to select which platform.
Yeah.
And I think it was their CEO that reached out to us at some point and basically said, Josh Lifton.
Ooh, Josh.
So he reached out to us and said, hey, like, you know, you want to work together kind of thing. Just kind of took it from there. So a lot of what they were kind of focused on, which is just sort of community-driven, like open source hardware, kind of our stuff fit very much into that. They had a lot of similar kind of projects, you know, these kind of more bare PCB, you know, style products that while they weren't as aren't whatever as kind of mainstream or as well known, whatever as like a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, it kind of felt like a better fit to us.
It can kind of be a plus because people go to Crowd Supply and they know what they're going to see. And if they're looking at something else, then they might see you on the sidebar.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get sort of like that network effect or whatever. So
relevant to my interests.
So and they, you know, they also were able to kind of give us some compelling offerings in terms of giving us some PR support, and then they're helping us with fulfillment on all of the orders now. So, you know, so there's some additional stuff there, but yeah.
Super cool.
We got to that.
Notice all these cool little I'm assuming they're like quality assurance little stamps on.
Yeah.
Cool sort of stylistic element.
That's right. Yeah. You gotta have your like ISO certified production line.
Process, yeah. Very nice. Anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap up? Like any upcoming exciting stuff or?
So we the Pie Smasher is, I don't know if people have been following the campaign. The Pie Smasher has been sort of I don't know if I'd call it a thorn in our side. It's kind of, it's like aside from the Snickerdoodle, it's sort of like our crown jewel kind of thing. So people have been waiting a long time. A lot of people have been waiting a long time for us to actually deliver that. So as of, yesterday, I just got to notice that the PCBs should be here in like a day or two. So we're going to be doing assembly all the month of August. So we'll finally start churning out production units here in a few weeks.
Nice.
So, you know, get your pre-orders in now. But it's exciting because I think a lot of people have been kind of waiting for, a lot of people when they look at the product, it's not like a Raspberry Pi and that or BeagleBone, like it doesn't have all those interfaces on board. Like what we focused on is we want to give you the ultimate flexibility. So we even have like a little microcontroller on there to free up some more IOs and peripherals from the FPGA. So you get all the FPGA IO on the headers, so you can plug it into your own baseboard if you want, build your own application around it. You're not going to be limited. So that's sort of been a kind of hesitation for some people because how do I get USB on the thing, or where's Ethernet?
Or got this micro USB going.
That's right, yeah. So we got the wireless, of course, kind of is like a second interface, but it's not the same as like, you know, if I want to plug in a keyboard, a mouse, and a display into it, like what do I do? The Pi Smasher answers that question and gives you, you know, HDMI in and out, so you do like video processing. 2 gigabit Ethernet ports for networking stuff, and audio line in and line out. So it's kind of like everything you could probably possibly want in for that type of application.
Jacks for all those too.
Yeah. Got an audio codec on there and all that good stuff. So
another random question. It seems like this is not a criticism, but I feel like if I were to make the Pie Smasher, despite your beautiful branding, I would probably try to make it green. Does anyone tell you that? Hulk smash.
Yeah. So, I mean, it gets to a certain point where like the matte black is just like we've like fallen in love with it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
We get like so many. We get more compliments probably on that than anything, which is kind of funny. But But yeah, we
Good
did.
choice.
We talked about having different solder masks and all that kind of stuff for all the different baseboards,
But
and
it would be kind of a pain in the ass.
yeah. Or if like we want to, have the lower end Snickerdoodle be some like green, like
Yeah.
I mean the green solder mask is kind of disgusting. I mean
It
it's
works
kind of
for Apple, You
Yeah,
have like
yeah.
the basic one be this shiny green.
That's right. Yeah.
almond color, and then
Yeah, it's kind of like we don't want to like
like
soil
a
the
fancy
product
credit
or
card,
anything.
like.
That's right. Yeah, put it. Yeah, that's right.
It's got a nice like heft to it too. It's
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it's like solidly built, and like I mean it's like lightweight but like well constructed. So it's a lot of thought went into all the different components. So I think we're pleased with how it turned out.
We do have the Facebook stream going, so I'm curious if we got any questions here. Somebody says, hello for Arduino community in Australia.
Nice.
Awesome. Hello, Australia.
G'day.
Da-da. Oh, sweet. We don't have a ton of questions. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm probably going to edit this into some little chunks and put it up on YouTube. So, stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Alex.
All right, we'll catch you later. Ciao. All right, let's...
This guy.
Yeah, go back to the OBS thing. Oh, that works too, yeah. And then stop